Hello.
Hi, Grace. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. Okay, let's jump into our post conference. I did receive your lesson reflection. I'm glad the extra time helped. Um, and so I've read through your responses, but for the purpose of this post conference, I want it to be more of a conversation. And so you may reference your lesson reflection, but I just want to hear from you about the overall lesson, what your expectations, if they were met based on what you planned. And in the end, I'm going to ask you to identify one area that you would say, I'm sorry, that would be considered an area of reinforcement, meaning that you believe you did pretty well and that you are probably at proficiency level or or approaching it, and then also an area of refinement that you feel like I need to continue to develop in this area as we go into second semester. Okay, I do have your self scores and I see those, but of what you have provided, I want you to identify again area of reinforcement and an area of refinement. Okay.
Okay.
So just give me your, first of all, your overall impressions of the lesson.
I think overall the lesson went pretty well.
Okay.
I think it was one of my best paced lessons.
Okay.
Um, I think that most of the students, especially on the left side of me in the video, were pretty engaged. I I did talk about this in my lesson reflection. I know Colton, who was sitting like right in front of you, was very dysregulated because of the thunder, and I think that that kind of him making so much noise and being so vocal about that kind of threw off or distracted like some of the people around him. So I thought like maybe I could have done more to help him like calm down a little bit. I know his para helped him a little. Um,
I'm sorry to interrupt. You said his pair. Is that the young lady sitting beside him or the teacher that was across the room?
the teacher across the room is the special education para.
Oh, I thought you said, okay, I just want to make, oh, para.
No, but Kennedy, who sits next to him, is also great, and she works
Oh,
with him all the time and is awesome with it.
okay. I thought you said pair, like a student pair. Okay.
No, no, a para. It's paraprofessional,
Gotcha.
yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I'm sorry. Just want to clarify. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Um, hmm, I think that I was strong in presenting the information.
Okay.
But I do like when I went through their exit tickets, um, most of them were able to get one, and then about half of the people that got one got two
Okay.
of the characteristics. And there were people that got they said like a characteristic, and then their second characteristic was like kind of the first characteristic, like renamed. So I think maybe I could have um like been more explicit about like this is a characteristic, this is a characteristic. Um, I think that the demo and the art making part was pretty smooth. Um, and I think my transition was okay with the getting students to work, getting students to pass out supplies and things.
Mhm.
I think that I could have had maybe more assessment moments. Um, I think I could have. I talked about this, the objective for the overall project, but I didn't explicitly say the objective for this lesson. And then I didn't talk at the standards, but they are on the slide. So I
Yeah.
think I could have also gone through those a little bit more too.
Okay. Let me just build on a few things that you mentioned. So you said that when you were presenting the steps, I guess when you were modeling what you wanted them to do, you felt like that went pretty smooth.
Hmm.
So what do you mean by that? What makes you characterize what happened as smooth?
I think that I explained it well, and then when I was walking around and some of the pictures that I took of people working or people's work afterwards, they all, or maybe there was like two or three people that didn't do it the way that I showed it or didn't like get what we were supposed to be doing. And everybody else was kind of on it. Does
Okay.
that make sense? Does that answer the question?
Um, I'm a push you a little.
Okay.
I'm push- Okay, so when you say it went smooth or smooth,
Hmm.
are you speaking about the pace in which you presented or modeled for them? Are you talking about based on their behavior or their response, you felt like you were conveying the information or modeling in a sufficient manner? I just want to know how you define smooth because no one raised their hand to interject. Was that give you a reason to say, okay, everything went smoothly? I'm just trying to get into your mind here and think about how you define smooth.
I think that I like accurately articulated
Okay.
what I wanted to happen, so that's part of it. And then um like majority of the students understood and did
Okay.
what was expected.
Okay. That's what I was looking for you to make that alignment between what you presented, the expectation for students, and excuse me, and what actually occurred. I was looking for that alignment. So you hit it. Thank you. Um, my next question was or is you said that you would have incorporated or included more assessment moments.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you mean by that?
Um, I think that I had that one summative assessment as the exit ticket,
Yeah.
and I had written like formative assessment, like watching who was participating, and but I think that I could have added like a check for understanding or something that was more like uh, something that was more like concrete,
Mhm.
like a check in a box kind of situation.
Okay.
Maybe like I could have mm, I don't like I could have maybe marked off that they were on task during like the individual section or something similar to that.
Okay, so those examples that you just provided were great. I tend to agree with you, and that was what I was hoping you would say when you talked about more assessment moments, because you gave out a lot of information. I know you were introducing the project, so the type of lesson lends itself for a lot of direct instruction, giving instructions, modeling. So you did that well, but because of the amount of information that you were giving, inserting at certain points checks for understanding in whatever way you want to. It could be something concrete, or it could be what you observe, or you ask a question and you get the feedback from the students, some type of check for understanding, and more than one because of the amount of
Mhm.
information that you provided. And I'm going to show you an example in just a moment. I pulled a couple of clips from the lesson video, so thank you for sharing that I want to just highlight for you. Um, let's and you said that this is one of the best paced lessons that you have taught, so
Yes.
that's good because pacing always is challenging. um and looking at your lesson reflection, I'm sorry, let me stop, I'm going too fast. Let's back up. So, based on your overview, you've read, I mean, you completed the lesson reflection, you saw yourself on the video, and you have determined a few things. So, what would you say is the area of reinforcement? I know you said, I just want to hear that once again, what that one area.
If I had to pick one area, I would say assessment.
That's right. Okay. And what would you say would be the area of refinement?
Refinement or reinforcement?
What did I just say? I'm sorry.
You
Uh,
said refinement?
I'm sorry. What's assessment is your area of refinement or reinforcement?
Refinement.
Okay. I'm sorry. I am going too fast here. Okay. So now, what is the area of reinforcement? What area do you feel like you're doing well?
Um, I think presenting instructional content.
That's about to be number 4. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So I'm going to play a clip. Can you see the video here on the screen?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I'm going to show you a clip, and this is at the beginning of the lesson, and this was prior to me coming in, but I'm glad it was captured on video. So we're going to watch about, let's see, we're going to watch about 2 minutes of this, maybe 3, and I want you to identify after we watch it. And I want you to share, what do you notice about the student behavior, like what students are doing or saying, and also what you are doing and saying. Okay, so we're looking at your behavior as well as the students. Okay,
Got it.
all right. So hopefully you can hear this and everything works out well. Let's just hope. And then we're going to turn to our group and discuss some. Can you hear? Differences and so we're going to discuss with your group, maybe find 2 similarities and 2 differences. Okay. All right. Go. They both. One is the painting and one is the one is the painting and one is yeah, one is not very good. And they both have the line. One is almost green, one is almost blue. They both are. They both have. Oh, they're both the same. Oh, they're both. Yes, that's like the same. It's not that. Do you not see the song? How does it? It'll be that, it'll be the one line, that kid like that says six. Have some people, don't share. Try with them. Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. Okay, what do you notice? Hold on a second. Let me put you back on screen so I can see you. There we go. Okay. So, what did you notice?
Well, I noticed at right there at the very end, when I started asking for volunteers, there were still groups talking.
Okay.
Um, I also I noticed that it took these groups on the ends like a little bit to get started. Like they were kind of just like stared at the screen and then they started talking to each other. And then this group that's the closest to the camera like talked about a couple things and then started talking about something else.
Okay. All right. And what did you notice about what were you doing or saying?
Um, I give them the instructions and then I restate the same thing. And then I go to give Leo his modified activity and explain to his pair like how to do it.
Okay.
And then I kind of
Is that
stand
green
in.
bucket that you had? I was wondering.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Anything else that you notice about your behavior, your moves?
Um, I don't know. I
Okay.
didn't make it to when I started walking around, I didn't make it to this far group before I started asking for a van. Ann.
Is
Like,
are you referencing this group here?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So put a pin there. Okay.
Okay.
And then we're going to just fast forward a bit because now they are sharing out.
Yes.
Okay. So we're about a little more than 2 minutes into the lesson. So you give them activity, they turned and talked, they shared with the group, and now they're sharing out. And so what
Hmm.
I want you to do is again look at student behavior and then look at your teacher moves. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, so school collect money, the school has money, right, like maybe kind of starter or usual columns or national. They go have bodies of water, yeah, but no, they're in, oh, what they're, no, don't come there, yeah. One, two, no. That's okay. But try. Okay, one of them, oh, it's from school as clouds, and it doesn't. Anyone from the spirit to share? Yeah. Second one is like bright and blue. Okay, plain and brighter colors. It goes on top of fun and they both have water, so they're kind of similar in what they're like. Did anyone else have anything to add? Like that one does called that one it's like maybe at 12 okay, it's like what makes you say that? Because it's like your body's water and you usually see those plants here or try the one thing. Okay, so they're like and it's plants that you see around water clothes. Okay. You see that? Anybody else?
Okay, let's stop there. Okay. So what do you notice?
I think that this side of the room was not all the way engaged when the person on the other side of the room was talking.
Are you
Um,
this was I'm sorry, this side or this side?
yeah, this side that's closest to the camera.
Okay.
They were a little distracted by Colton at some moments. I I liked that I repeated what they were saying and so that everyone could hear it, especially because the rain made it really loud in that room. And I kind of added on to what everyone was saying. I think that this is not something I thought about in this, like watching this video, but in general, I think I would like to practice like adding
Yes.
more information like to what they give like because they tell me something and I'm like, "Oh, great." And I'm like, "That leads into this point, but I could like expand that further."
Okay, great observation. And that's what I wanted you to take away from that. So what I noticed was as students were sharing out, if you could not hear them very well, you walked towards them in their direction so that you could hear what they were saying. But, and you just pointed out, it may be the noise level because of the rain. It may just be the way the classroom is, and maybe even where you're camera is positioned. But if you're having to walk towards students to be able to hear them very well, that means like the likelihood of other students hearing them is non-existent. So what you
Mhm.
want to do is, as you did a few times, restate. But even when you restate what a student has said, you have to be careful of your position. Okay, because notice as you will walk, like I noticed you did this, you will walk this way to hear what a student would say, and then you will kind of stand in this area and restate it. But what about these kiddos over here?
Yeah.
Maybe even over here.
Hmm.
Okay. And one thing I wanted to also, so just be mindful of that. And I love that you said that you would like to build upon or expand what a student says or their response. And that goes towards the academic feedback that I wanted to
Okay.
address. So as a student responds, and you have to keep in mind whatever that learning objective is for the day, or in your case, it may be for the entire project or unit, you always want to keep that in front of the students, right? So
Uh-huh.
based on their response, you could expand or build upon what they've said by relating it back to the learning target or the learning objective. I couldn't necessarily hear what that student said, but you can just find opportunities to do that. And what happens too is the other students that you'll start to gel, that learning objective or your expectation will start to gel in their minds as well.
Okay.
In terms of your positioning, I want you to be very careful. And this is, ironically, I had the same feedback for the candidate that was in the same classroom last year. So the camera is here, the
Yes.
monitor is here, and as you stand to teach or present, it's natural that you will stand here because all of your technology is here.
Yes.
And I was sitting here, right?
Hmm.
And I could not see the screen.
Mm.
So you got it. So every so often, just move to the other side and just say one or two sentences and then move back.
Okay.
Okay? Because then it engages these students here. And what happens is, particularly this young guy here, he can kind of hide behind you because he knows you're not watching him, right? And he's like, okay, I
Hmm.
got a little time to just do what I want to say to this, and then turn around. Oh yeah, sure, I'm with you. So you got to be very careful with that. Okay.
Okay.
Somebody's at my door. I'm sorry. Somebody's at. I am so sorry. Let me make sure they don't they leave. Okay, I think they're leaving. Okay, it's probably Amazon. Anyway, so now notice too, as other students are reporting out, what other students are doing. And I think you made mention of that. They're not really
Hmm.
paying attention. Okay, so you want to find ways to engage them all. You also, as students are raising their hands, you call on them. But another way to bump up that engagement and make sure all students are with you and also assess at the same time is calling on those non-volunteers.
Hmm.
Okay. I noticed, and I don't think I have this queued, but this table here, I think there was a young girl sitting here, or maybe back here.
Yes.
Okay.
Macy sits there.
Yeah. Okay. So these two, I think you called on him towards the end of the lesson after you did your modeling, but there are times where you can tell, and this one too, that he wanted to share, but you didn't call on him. And I don't know if they're like reserved and not really going to raise their hand, but if that's the case, still pull them in because you want to
Okay.
be able to hear from all students so that you can know if it's time for you to move on or if you need to develop a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Um, and I love too, I want to point this out because you did this very well. This particular student shared out first, representing the group. And then you asked if there's anyone else who wanted to share. And I think this young girl did.
Hmm.
And so that's a great teacher move, pulling more voices. But remember what I said, try to get those that are kind of quiet. I don't think I heard from this student at all. Maybe
Yeah, she's the one that doesn't speak English.
oh, is she?
Hmm.
Okay, I couldn't tell that. Oh, okay. All right. What about this young guy here? Okay. I'm trying to remember her face. What about this young guy?
Um, he probably could have shared. I probably could have pulled him in.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know your students. I was just there for 45 minutes, so you know your students more than me. But yeah, so just find ways to just incorporate more student voice
Okay.
throughout your lesson. Okay. One more thing I want to point out. Okay, I'm going to scoot ahead to the part where you are actually demonstrating and modeling for students the actual artwork. Let's see, is this okay? Okay, so this is where you're setting them up. So you're talking about the paper, where to write the names and all that, okay? So we're gonna watch this for a few minutes. We're gonna stop in about 2 or 3 minutes. But again, I want you to notice what you're doing, what you're saying, and then what students are doing as well. Okay. And we'll talk on the other side.
And that's all you'll fill out. Yes, stickers that will have the information for everything. Their name, everything. This will show you how. We are going to. Show you the ground. Write your name there, and then we are going to do oil pastels, but only warm colors. We're gonna get to the cool colors there. Give me grapes and yellows. Oranges. And things to get to that first thing on your paper is so you can choose and you can choose where put it. Now you can use any yellow board. Build the cityscape that covers the bottom. So we're gonna fill the whole thing. Background, but if you really want a lot of stars, I will put some on the top house so we can see them. I can put the landscape or the cityscape. So, and then I'm gonna take another warm color, orange, and I'm gonna start with these impressionism, like from the shapes. Just kind of go around stars. And because there's a watercolor on top of this, you were oil pastels, you have this, so maybe go back for a couple of times. And then you can sort of start making certain sort of shapes that we saw. It is our kind of base curves that are attached to stars. So if that's something we look like, that's like two. I think this looks nice on there. And then once that's done, there. To build us favorite art colors that we or cool colors. Favorite will be built in. Any questions about those?
Okay. All right, so this is again where you are presenting or modeling for them. I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
If you can recall. Did you ask any questions during this segment?
I did not.
Well, you did. You asked at the end, do we have any questions about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you did ask one, you did ask a question. Okay. Um, so did you check for understanding?
I I asked if they had any questions.
Okay.
That's the closest,
Okay.
probably.
Okay. And did you what was the other question? Did you what about your pacing? How do you think your pacing was during that segment?
Um, I think it was okay.
Okay. How do you define okay?
I did like I well, in the moment I was trying to go show them a little bit quicker so that they would have time to work.
Okay.
But in the video, it almost seems like they're getting a little bored of it.
Great observation. And it's so that's why we encourage candidates to go back and watch the video because real time it appears things are going real much slower or even quicker than it actually is. So when you see it on video, it kind of gives you that another perspective. So I agree. I think that the time period was a bit long, and you can tell by the student behavior because they started to get restless. Now,
Hmm.
but I thought what you shared and the way that you modeled was appropriate. So let's talk about how we may can counter some of that student boredom, for lack of a better word, as you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what could you have done? Can you think about something you could have done or maybe incorporated to kind of break up that student behavior there?
Um, I could, well, one thing I'm not sure like right now in this moment how I would do this for this group, but for the littles, I will say like, and then we're gonna do this. What are we gonna do? And then like the whole group is like, we're gonna do this. So like something like that to make sure that they know like the order of what's happening. I could ask them questions.
Love that. Yeah.
I could ask, like, I made all the choices for my composition, but maybe I could be like, what kind of moon do you guys think I should add? Or something like that.
Perfect. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So I want you to remember that because and what you said that works for the littles most definitely will work for this age group. They're just in bigger bodies. That's the only
Mhm.
difference. That's the
Okay.
only difference because they're still learning and they're still learning art and how to create their works of art. So incorporating those types of checks for understanding throughout that period will help. Also, you like you just mentioned, you could ask them, okay, what type of moon, but maybe you could ask or pull in their thoughts or their suggestions as well. Like, what color do you think I should use here?
Mhm.
I'm looking for warm colors. What do you suggest? And then call on someone that maybe hasn't had a voice yet or shared in the lesson yet. And that way you can incorporate more student voice and also give them a choice. Okay. And then students always love to see and hear when their ideas or opinions are used. So if you
Mhm.
ask someone, and you maybe can even have asked Colton, what color do you want to use? And he would,
Yeah.
yeah, and that would draw him in as well. And then also um, had his voice included. Now, I think you may mention at the beginning about Colton, um, and I actually thought that I don't know if this is how it normally unfolds when I'm not there. But I thought that you interacted with him very well. I wanted to show that to you um, on the video, but the audio didn't pick up because you came
Mm.
over. Um,
Yeah, and I was telling him make smaller
yes,
circles.
yes, yes, yes. You engaged him very well, and I wanted to commend you on that. And even though the parent was there coming back and forth, um, she engaged him, but when you came over, you really took it to another point, another level to get him to create his work of art as well. So I thought I wanted to make sure I said that to you because I thought you did a great job in doing that.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
typically when me and Miss Koger would like co-teach this class,
mhm,
like one of us is teaching the whole group and then one of us will go work with Colton.
okay, okay. Well, you had to handle all of that today, that on this particular day by yourself, and I thought you did a great job. Now,
Thank you.
the young guy on the other side of the classroom, where the para is actually sitting side by side,
Yes.
what did he do? I heard you say that you put out some supplies or materials for him. What did you do for him that was different?
So Leo had
Okay.
a for the comparison and contrast in the beginning, he had two pictures and his I had never heard this term before, but his special education teacher called it errorless learning.
Oh,
So she gives him like three options of multiple choice questions and only one of them is wrong. So he has like a higher percentage of getting the answer correct. And
okay.
so that's what I did. I did two, and I can send this to you. I meant to attach it. I did two, what is alike in these pictures, and then two, what is different in these pictures
Okay.
with that like model. And then I put five impressionist paintings and five realism paintings, and he sorted them into two piles.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
I didn't get to see that. Well, I saw him sorting them. I didn't get to see if they were correct, but I try to make it more obvious so that the pair would really like be able to tell which one is realism, which one is impressionism.
Okay.
And then for his exit ticket, which I wrote that I that his their teacher told me not to do anything for Colton,
Okay.
but I wish that I had given Colton the same exit ticket that I gave Leo, which was like a checklist of impressionism is this, impressionism is this, and then I had like two or three that weren't impressionism.
Okay. Well, well, let me ask you this. You said you wish you had or you could have. Why?
Because when I put that exit ticket down in front of him, I was like, oh, he's not gonna do this. Like I just knew in that moment that he was kind of tapped out. And I even maybe you saw it at the end, I even look at Kennedy and say, like, can you help him with this?
Okay. Oh,
Um,
yeah, I got
yeah.
you. All right. So let's see. That, yeah. Hmm, okay. Um, I wanted to just talk about real quick engagement.
Hmm.
Let me go back. I want to make sure I say this. Okay. So you have in your lesson and through the video evidence provided differentiated materials for, I know, at least two students, right?
Yes.
So you want to make sure that when you submit your lesson plan and your lesson materials going into next semester, that all of that is included,
Okay.
just so that I'll be able to make that reference because I did have a question here when you were giving your self scores. You said the pacing for this lesson worked well, differentiated materials were provided. And so my question was, I went back to your lesson plan because I wanted to remember, just want to make sure I didn't overlook anything. But it wasn't included. So you want to make sure that it's
Okay.
included, okay? But you just spoke to it, so that's fine. Um, Now let's move on real quick to engagement. I want to know when you say that I think most of the students were engaged the whole time or most of the time. So how do you define engagement?
I think that I was thinking like they were aware and following the discussion. But now after what we've talked about, I think it could like they could have a more active role.
Okay. So I love your wording. So engagement is active, right? So most times, especially aspiring teacher or novice teachers believe that if a student is in the classroom and they're quiet, meaning they're passive, that learning is taking place. And that's not necessarily true. You
Hmm.
want to have evidence of activity. So that means students are doing something hands on, or they're sharing and discussing, they're answering questions, they're attentive, they're looking in your direction, and they're plugged in, right? And they're
Hmm.
locked into what you're saying. And you can know this by assessing, by observation, but also by asking questions and checking for understanding. So when we talk about engagement, and I pulled those particular clips because I wanted you to be aware of what students are doing while you're presenting content or while you're answering questions. And ideally, we will want 100% of the students engaged.
Hmm.
In reality, most of the students need to be engaged. And what how you define most will vary from class to class. It will vary from the time of day, age levels. There's so many variables that impact that. But you want to make sure that a majority or most of the students are with you. And the way that you can do that again is by observation, but also inserting at strategic points within the lesson those checks for understanding. Calling on non-volunteers to see, is this particular student very quiet? Are they with me? Okay, just getting that student engagement, student voice embedded in the lesson. Okay, makes sense?
Got it. Yep.
Okay, so um, this has been great. I thought overall, let me just give you my overall impressions of the lesson. I thought that it was well planned. I thought that based on what I saw or anticipated from your lesson plan, it was executed pretty well. There are a few areas I just want you to continue to work on, but for the most part, and I want you to. I always say this, okay? So just take it for what it is.
Hmm.
Everybody can work on pacing.
Hmm.
That's just a
Yeah.
given. Okay. So that's just a given. Pacing definitely. And but I say that, but also with this caveat, particularly the clip that I showed you, I thought it was appropriate what you shared because it had to be shared and it had to be demonstrated. And to break up the student engagement or lack thereof, just insert certain checks for understanding or questions or even their opinion or their choice. Okay. And that's
Hmm.
going to get to another indicator, which is academic feedback.
Yes.
So I want you to continue to work on that area as well. In terms of areas of reinforcement, like I asked you to, we have to as well, we as supervisors just identify for this semester one area of reinforcement and one area of refinement. So for reinforcement, there's certain more than one. If I had to pick one, I probably would say um, activities and materials because I think what you had planned and what you incorporated, your lesson PowerPoint was well done. It was engaging. It wasn't boring. You had several different examples for them to pull from. You yourself had your materials there to model for them. So you were able to point, I want your name to go here. And then you come. So I think your materials and the activities that you had incorporated in the lesson was well done. So I would probably say that would be the area of reinforcement that I would identify. In terms of refinement, I think I would probably go, I'm bouncing between academic feedback. Well, I'll probably go with 11, which is engaging students and managing behavior. Not that the students were off the chain. There was no misbehavior that I observed. But in terms of having them engage and making sure that they're with you as you go through those lessons, especially the modeling piece, that you can insert questions, checks for understanding, and then it also gives you an opportunity to build on the academic feedback within that piece of modeling or even introducing the lesson at the beginning. Okay. Does any questions on that?
No, that makes sense.
Make
And I
sense?
can see it now, yeah.
You can see it. Okay. So overall, this concludes the formal evaluation. I think that, well, I'm gonna say, I know that you've done well so far. Of course, there's areas that we're going to continue to grow in. So next semester, look for continued growth and improvement. But what you're doing and what you have done so far has been well done. Please continue in that same light, same vein next semester as we wrap up, and so that in the fall you can be a full-time classroom art teacher. Okay. Now, are you going to stay in, do you want to stay in Memphis, or are you from
Yes.
Memphis? Okay, you want to, okay. Okay.
I used to be so anti-Memphis and then I moved to Chicago and I was like, no, take me back.
Oh, that's
So
a
yeah,
good
I'll
comparison.
take
Okay,
Memphis.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that can put things in perspective for you. Okay, yeah. Okay, good, good. So, do you have an idea, like, do you want to stay in Germantown district, or do you have no preference?
I don't have a preference right now. I think just whoever needs an art teacher at a decent school.
And a decent school, and you definitely want to remain elementary?
That would be my goal. I
Oh,
would be open to middle, but I don't think I want high school.
no high school?
No.
High school, okay. I know. Not everyone can do high school, but not everyone can do elementary. So I don't think I could definitely be an elementary school teacher, but high school was my area. Okay, so great job again. I hope the feedback that I shared was helpful, and I am going to stop sharing. I'm going to just go back over my notes, consider some of the things that you shared, and I will upload my final scores. Where's my video off? I will upload my final scores um, probably by the end of the week, if not early next week, so that you can see them. Lastly, I have encouraged candidates as we go into the final weeks of the semester. If you have any of those tasks that you can check off the exit conference form, please go ahead and upload those to Tavera, because I'm checking those every so often. And what I can mark off will only help speed up the process at the end of the semester, so we can check out and then go into our winter break.
Um,
Yeah.
for the two additional lesson plans, are we writing new ones or are we just pulling from the folder?
Oh, just pull from the folder. So
Okay,
just
got it.
pull any two that you want. Just make sure they're not the one for the informal or the formal evaluation.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about that? That's a good question.
I don't think so. Let
Nope.
me check my Tavera and see what's going on in there. Alignment. Um, Observe. No, I think I'm good. I've already done all my observations. I just have to finish writing them and put them in
Okay.
there.
Good.
And then I have just a few more things left after that.
Okay. Good. I have no doubt you'll get those done. So thank you again, Grace. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I love to see your enthusiasm about learning. I can
Thank
see it. You kind of low key, but internally I know you're like, yeah, okay, I get it.
you. Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and enjoy the rest of your week, this time off, and then we will see you next week, hopefully, for our last class on Wednesday.
Thank you. You
Okay,
have a good break too.
you too. Thank you so much. Enjoy yourself.
Bye.
Bye bye.